Tube, it's Louise the Big Head Bookworm. Lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day wherever it is you are and whatever it is you're doing. I am here on a Wednesday with one of my most favourite videos to record, and out of all the videos that I make, it's the only one that I ever watch back. So after I've recorded something, I watch it back to make sure I don't, expose myself or fall off the chair or whatever it is. You just got to make sure that you're presentable throughout and that you are loud enough, that's one of the things, and clear enough, and don't talk gibberish. It's a shame, sometimes I do. But then I never watch the back after that, really. But this type of video I do actually watch back, and I've made it. I think I've done it for about the last 3 or 4 years. I can't remember, but it is my most favourite. And I had somebody ask on Friday Reads, was it on Friday Reads? I think it was, am I going to do this video? Because they obviously, sorry, I've just seen the cat's gone through the cat flap. They obviously like this video as well, and that made me really pleased. I was like, yes, I am. I'm going to do it this week. And it is all the books that I read last year. It's my video where I show you all the physical books that I have that I read last year. So I don't show you my books that I read on my Kindle. If I haven't got a copy of an audiobook, I don't show you it. Or library books. It's just the books that I have kept that I have read last year. And it's really fascinating because I get to see all the books put out and I get to put them into categories, because I don't do them in order, I do them by categories. And it really is a wonderfully visual representation for me of the kind of books that I was reading last year. And it kind of gives me an indication as to where I was, what my interests were. So it's been quite fascinating going back and collecting all the books from around the house. And then I get to see them and sort them into, and I go, oh yeah, I was very much into that kind of book last year, and you can see little flurries of an author that I've had. So when I go through these books, it's a longer video than I normally do. It probably takes about 20 minutes for me to do this. I don't give reviews of the books. I may give a sentence or two, but I don't give reviews of the books that I am going through. Excuse me, I'm gabbling already. So I've gone thirsty. But it's just a fun video for me, really. You don't have to watch this, but it's kind of fun to see all the books. And do you ever do this? Or is this just a particularly odd booktuber kind of video to do? Anyway, let's start with these books here. I'll show you the piles very briefly. Are you ready? Yeah? That's all the books. I couldn't find 2. That was irritating. And one of them was an Agatha. I know I've got a physical copy of it. Cannot find it anywhere. And the other was a J.D. Robb. Couldn't find a copy of that. It may be on my Kindle. Anyway, so the first pile that I've got here is kind of fantasy and going into YA fantasy, but I would say it's just a fantasy pile. So I found Lilith St. Crow, which I bought last year, beginning of last year, or the end of the year. Actually, I may have bought it before then. I may have bought it in 2017. Anyway, I read it last year, and it's Lilith St. Crow. It's the Iron Worm Affair is the first one, and it's introducing Bannon and Claire, and then the second one was the Red Plague Affair. There is a third, and then the fourth you can get on Kindle. I think it's an ebook only, but I've got the first 2 and I read them. I really enjoyed that one. It's steampunk even fantasy. I really enjoyed this one. This one wasn't quite as good. Luck in the Shadows by Lynn Llewellyn. Classical fantasy with some kind of, I would say it's quite classical fantasy. Luck in the Shadows. It was fine. I'm not going to carry on with the season. Second in this series, what's the series called? Does it have a particular name? Oh, the Nevernight Chronicle. The first book's Nevernight. The second book is God's Grave by J. Christoph. I really enjoyed that. I really like that series. Although there is a lot of fighting. There's a lot of kind of Yes, I think by the end I actually really appreciated it, even though there were times I felt it dragged way more than ever. Night dragged. It's the second book in the trilogy, and they can do that. Also, second book in the trilogy was Gemina. The first book was Illuminae, and the second book was Gemina, and that's Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff again. So this is kind of science fiction, YA science fiction, written in a multimedia way. So it's kind of part science fiction, part graphic novel, really, and very enjoyable, very quick to read. I read Scythe by Neil Shusterman, which is the first in the series, and it's, I enjoyed that. Again, YA. I read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Read Six of Crows first and then read Crooked Kingdom. This is set in the Grisha world. Loved them. Absolutely loved them. Really didn't think I was going to. Because I kind of lost wind with the previous Grisha trilogy, and I didn't know if I was going to like this duology. I loved it. Loved it. YA duology. Loved it. I caught up with the Court of Thorn and Roses. So we've got the trilogy out: Court of Thorn and Roses, Court of Mist and Fury, Court of Wings and Ruin, which I loved, and then this was a very slim, kind of almost novella in Sarah J. Maas's world of A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I enjoyed, and I reread Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Right, okay, what should we do now? We'll do these. So these are all crime books, starting with Nora Roberts, who does the In Death series. She writes as J.D. Robb for the In Death series, but she's Nora Roberts for contemporary romance and contemporary tales. I read Reunion in Death, I read Secrets in Death, and I read Calculated in Death. I think all three of these, I think that was new, but I think those were rereads. Crime set in New York in 2060. Oh, right. I read an Inspector Morse mystery by Colin Dexter called The Riddle of the Third Mile. Very good. I love Inspector Morse on television. I love it. So it was nice to reread that. Actually, I don't think I've read it before, but I knew the story anyway, but it was nice to read it. I caught up with Peter Robinson, Sleeping in the Ground, which is a DCI Banks mystery. And then let's get into the Agathas that I read in no particular order. I read or listened to A Murder is Announced by, these are all Agatha Christie, that's Miss Marple. Another Marple, A Pocket Full of Rye. Hercule Poirot, Hickory Dickory Dock. Hercule Poirot, Elephants Can Remember. Hercule Poirot, Five Little Pigs, such a good one. The Hollow, which is Hercule Poirot. What a weird cover. And they do it with mirrors. Yeah, they do. Which is a Agatha, which is a Miss Marple. 3 more. Read the first Agatha, which was The Mysterious Affair at Styles. Let's do that better. There we go. This beautiful facsimile edition, and then the first, well, is it the first Miss Marple? It's not the first Miss Marple, but The Murder at the Vicarage, which is Miss Marple, which I love. I also read The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which I have in these wonderful editions, which is from my mum and dad. I think it's from my dad's. And I've got a couple of these lovely editions, and they've got hand drawings in them and everything. I've got drawings in them, look at that. But yeah, they're lovely. So that's, and I also, this is going to be tricky. I also listened to Ordeal by Innocence, but I can't find it anywhere. Some not children's books, kind of middle grade. We listened to the vast majority of Harry Potter. I think we listened to the last 3. We definitely listened to the Half-Blood Prince, myself and Benedict, but we also listened to The Deathly Hallows, which is the last one. We also listened to Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp, J.K. Rowling, which we listened to that in the car going to school every day. And if you listen to it on Audible, there's a whole another bit at the end which features Ginny and is brilliant. So I really recommend that. That's not going to stay. Let's put that down there. We read the first two. Well, I read the first two in the Morrigan Crow series by Jessica Townsend. I read Nevermore and I read Wondersmith. We're currently going through Wondersmith with Benedict at Night. Oh, it's so good. I love them. If you liked Harry Potter, if you like kind of fantasy, feel good fantasy, it's middle grade, but there's a bit of peril there, and they're just wonderful. This kind of magical world that she's envisaged and populated it. Really good. I found Nevermore a little bit harder to get into than Wondersmith, but I knew the characters in Wondersmith. And the magic in Wondersmith is just fantastic. So I just recommend those so much. Okie dokie. Oh, let's do some of these. These are some just regular fiction books. End of the Day by Claire North was all right. Let's not go for that. The latest one in the series by David Lagercrantz, The Girl Who Takes an Eye for an Eye, which is carrying on from the Steg Larsson's Millennium trilogy. This is the fifth in it. I thought it was better than the fourth, but not as good as the first. The Last Tudor by Philippa Gregory. Yeah, it's taking 3 points, 3 stories, 3 women. It was very repetitive. I'm glad I read it, but let's not go overboard with that. This is kind of historical crime. It's The Seeker by S.G. McLean. Really enjoyed this. Set in London in 1654. Really, really enjoyed this. And we'll be continuing on with the series. This was my first book of the year, If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, who I've seen has got a hardback out at the moment. And it's a literary thriller featuring students at a kind of Shakespeare college. Oh, so good. It's a murder mystery come literary thriller. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was very good, and I've got this lovely edition which I read on holiday. Really, really good. Really good. Did you see I liked it? I started the year off really well. The Mitford Murders. I'm going to cough. Excuse me. It's because there's dust in the air. Oh dear. Oh, excuse me. Slow down. The Mitford Murders by Jessica Fellows, who is the daughter? Yes, I think she's the daughter of Julian Fellows, who did Downton Abbey. This features the Mitford sisters. It's Murder on a Train in 1919, so it's kind of cosy crime featuring the Mitford sisters. I thought it was going to feature them as they were older, but it wasn't. I don't know whether I'm going to pick up the next one. I haven't seen many people talk about it, so I might do. But I did enjoy it, but I didn't love it. A Secret Wife by Jill Paul. Yes, what is it? 1914 and 2016, so it's dual perspective, and it features kind of mysteries about the Romanovs, which is why I was attracted to it, and I did enjoy it. It was a very easy, comfortable read. I'm not sure how much I loved it, but I did enjoy it though. It was good. Ooh, one I did really enjoy was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Taunton, or Turnton, which is a Groundhog Day novel, but really good. And it is a mystery, and it is kind of, it's just really good. I really loved it. I thought it was very novel, in a novel, and I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. It's not one you're going to be able to work out, and you're going to have to try and go with what's happening, but yes. And it's not far enough away that I can read it again, because I could still remember exactly what happened. But in a couple of years, I'll have forgotten what happened, and I'll be able to read it again, and it'll be just as joyful. So, yeah, really good. I read The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, which is Victoriana fiction. which everybody's read. I can understand why people completely gooed over it. I didn't completely go over it, but I can understand why people did. I read Kate Atkinson's latest book, which is Transcription, set in the 1950s and modern day, and just thought it was brilliant. Absolutely highly rated that. Let's do some romance. I did read a lot of romance this year, but I read more paranormal romance rather than straight romance. This is kind of both, it has an element of romance in there. It's the third in the Lady Sherlock series by Sherry Thomas, which is set in Victoria. It's set in the Victorian era, and it's reimagining Sherlock Holmes as if she was a lady, and it's more complicated than that. I absolutely loved the first one, which is called A Study in Scarlet Women. The second one I didn't think was as good, A Conspiracy in Belgravia. I enjoyed this one more. So, The Hollow of Fear. I will be continuing with them, and they're a lovely edition. It's really nice. You know, sometimes that's important. Yeah, really lovely edition. Two other, a Regency Romance, One Good Earl Deserves a Lover by Sarah MacLean. This is in a series of, it's the Rule of Scoundrels series, and this is the second one, which I just randomly picked off the shelf and read it. Love Sarah MacLean. This was Candy's Camp. This is the first in a series of The Mad Moorlands. I was trying Candy's Camp for the first time. Again, Regency Romance. We won't be reading that again. Let me go on to some non-fiction. I didn't read enough non-fiction. I listened to quite a bit, and so I haven't got that to show you because that was purely audio. And I do like listening to non-fiction on audio, but I didn't read enough, I have to say. I read a few. There were some other books which I read on my Kindle, which were true crime. So I haven't got those to show you. But my actual physical copy didn't read enough. Anyway, I read Happy by Fern Cotton, Finding Joy. I was looking to see whether it featured much gratitude, because that's what I was reading about. Still am reading about gratitude. Yeah, it was all right. Not that great. Gratitude Works by Robert A. Emmons. I was interested in it. It was very much from a psychology-based idea and about the science of gratitude and how you might implement that on a tried and tested basis, rather than looking at how gratitude affects you in a more holistic term. So it was interesting, but not exactly what I wanted. The Gratitude Diaries, How a Year Looking on the Bright Side Transformed by Life by Janice Kaplan. Yeah, slightly irritating. It was a good book. It was a quick book. Again, looking at all the aspects of gratitude in a positive psychology way, which is very much a journalist way of doing it. So it was constantly referring back to, she would constantly go and talk to somebody. Whatever she was doing, she'd talk to somebody about it and then refer back to what they were talking to, rather than looking at it in a holistic way, which is what I wanted. Also, she comes from a point of absolute privilege. And so there was that bit of, having to feel grateful for the two houses you have. It was a bit of a, and if you read the reviews of this, they are way more scathing than I ever was, but I can understand that. I'm doing a huge mess on the floor. Slightly more spiritual books. Jaguar in the Body, Butterfly in the Heart by Yakov Darling Khan, who does movement meditations and is an everyday shaman. That's what he calls himself. So that was a very interesting book. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The Saffron Road, A Journey with Buddha's Daughters by Christine Toomey, who is a Sunday Times journalist, or was a Sunday Times journalist. I wanted more from the religious. I wanted more to know about how they felt about Buddhism and how to be a nun in the Buddhist faith and all the different aspects of that. But it was very much looking at why the oppression of women and what had happened to these women, and other nuns and was talking an awful lot more about violence towards the nuns than I had anticipated. So it was shocking and powerful, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. I was still glad I enjoyed it, and I took some stuff from it, but it wasn't what I wanted. Still looking for that book. Oh, I read Out of the Woods by Will Kahoo. That's not how you pronounce his surname, but it's how I pronounce his surname. So, Will, if you can come around and tell me how to say your name, him. Which is The Armchair Guide to Trees. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it. It's like going on a walk with a man who's very witty but very knowledgeable about trees, and it's just great. I also read The Old Ways by Robert McFarland, A Journey on Foot, which is looking at basically all the walks, some of the more powerful walks that he's been on, and I thought he was fascinating, and it was wonderful. And he's a local author. He lives in Cambridge. He's a Cambridge man, so that was really marvellous. And he's got Landmarks. I want to read Landmarks, and there's another one as well. He's written a couple of books. But yeah, he's a fascinating man, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. 2 true crime books that I have in the flesh. I had Lie After Lie by Lara Bricker from the Crime Writers On podcast. Very standard true crime book. It was a good read, but very standard, nothing extraordinary. One that was extraordinary and that I have gone on about, but is just, I think it's amazing, is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, who is no longer with us. I absolutely loved this book. It really got to me. It's not without its flaws. I completely understand when people say what their problems are with it. I completely understand that. It's not without its flaws. However, I really enjoyed it and highly recommend it if you have any interest in true crime whatsoever. Okay, let's go on to some lighter books. These are all paranormal romances. The romances I tended to read, I don't think I read any contemporary romances. No, I didn't read any contemporary romances last year. Or if I did, it were on my Kindle. It were on my Kindle, like. She says thinking. But I did read paranormal romances. This is the second in the series, Haze by Paula Weston. The first one is Shadows, which I've got on my Kindle. It's all right. It's a YA romance, and it features, can you guess, angels. Second, oh yes. So, I like a bit of Nalini Singh and her Guild Hunters series. This is the first one which I reread this last year, Angel's Blood. I also randomly picked up Archangel's Blade. So those two are from the Guild Hunters series. And the latest one that came out was Archangel's Prophecy. I've read that as well. So I think that's the 11th. I think we're 11. And she seems to be bringing out one a year for that. I found when I moved here that there was a charity shop that had a fine collection of paranormal romance, and I bought Halfway to the Grave and One Foot in the Grave, which is a Night Huntress novel. I cannot remember which is the first one. This one, Halfway to the Grave by Janine Frost, a Night Huntress novel, and One Foot in the Grave by Janine Frost. I got them both from the charity bookshop. I know. I also got First Drop of Crimson by Janine Frost and Eternal Kiss of Darkness by Janine Cross. And these are in the Night Huntress world. They are standalones that kind of link in with it. Loved. Out of all of them, I would say that's my fave. I mean, not the cover, but for the romance, quite saucy. And I also read, I don't know which is the first. Which is the first? Not that one. Is it that one? No, it's not. I think it could be this one. The Darkest Night by Gina Showalter. This is Lords of the Underworld. So I thought these could be Hades and Persephone retellings, and I suppose they are, but you know. So we've got The Darkest Night, we've got The Darkest Kiss, and we've got The Darkest Pleasure. Basically, it's blokes on the cover. There you go. Yeah, they were fine. I'm not going to carry on with the series. There are lots in the series. Lots. And saucy paranormal romances, but quite formulaic. I read by the third one, I was like, yep. And it's supposed to be all kind of outrageous sex, and it wasn't. That's all I've got to say. So, my last collection of books, which see what I've done on the floor. It's badness. My last collection of books are Cozy Crimes, which you know I am a fan of. I read the first two in the Renee Arth series, which is a John Madden mystery. I really love this one, and this is the first one, River of Darkness. It is set in 1921. And it's a cosy crime, and this is where we meet all the characters, and then this is the second, The Blood Dimmed Tide, and this is 1932, so it's a bit of a jump. I have one of his books like far later in the series, and somebody said to me, no, you can't read it as a standalone, you do need to have started at the beginning. I really adored this one. I thought it was wonderful. I loved the pace of it. It was very slow and very detailed, and I loved it. The second one didn't have enough John Madden in for me, but I did still really enjoy it. And I will carry on with the series. Why haven't I carried on with the series? I will do. I'd forgotten about these completely. This is the Mary Russell series. And this is A Letter of Mary. And is this the third? I want to say it's the third. It is the third. This is the third in the series. And I managed to track it down eventually. Or did I order it in? I may have just lied at you. Sorry about that. I think I did just lie to you. I think I ended up having to order it in because I couldn't find it anywhere. But this is the third one. And did I enjoy it? I think I enjoyed it. Oh, I read some Jacqueline Winspear's. I read 3 last year. I read The Messenger of Truth. These are in the Maisie Dobbs series. Don't start in the middle. Start with Maisie Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. They're all set in London in the 1920s and 30s. She is a private investigator. They're great. So this is Messenger of Truth, and then An Incomplete Revenge, and then The Mapping of Love and Death, which I loved. I thought it was wonderful. And look at that cover. Oh, I loved it. Favourite cover of the year for me. I read The Yard by Alex Grecian, which is a Victorian 1889 thing. That's all right. Won't be reading on any more of that, but I did manage to read Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz and loved it. I think I listened to it on audio and loved it. Might have a copy of it anyway. Oh, so good. No, I did read it like that. Did I read it like this or did I? Oh, either way, I loved. So good. And that's it. That's all I've got. How long did this take? Oh, gosh, too long. Anyway, so I shall leave it there. My gosh, nearly half an hour. I don't think I've done a video that's that long before. Have I gone on that much about it? Yes, I can tell by my state of my voice. Sorry, I just hit you. Yes, you want to see the pile of books that I've left on the floor? I'll be tidying that up now. So some of these books I'm actually going to get rid of. The ones that I haven't loved and that I'm not going to read again. I'm actually going to get rid of them now. Who else has been watching Marie Kondo? Have you been looking at everything going, does this spark joy? I'm obsessed. It's like everybody else, I am obsessed about it. So I should be going through these and go, do you spark joy? Some of them definitely do. Some of them, not so much. So there we go. There we go, BookTube. I hope this hasn't been too dull for you and that you have managed to sit back with a nice cup of tea, a nice glass of wine, whatever is your tipple, and enjoyed me rushing through my year of books. It's been a lovely BookTube, and I look forward to next January sitting with you again and showing you all the books that I read in 2019. Let's do this again.